Hi everyone. So this is for Module 4 covering leadership, teams, and ethics. And this video is the topical knowledge introductory video for this module. This will be accompanied by the applied reasoning skills video, which is the second introductory video for this module, and will cover the process of identifying the continuity of response. So leadership and teams and the varying perspectives within the context of society. So the words leadership and teams imply the breadth and depth of the larger societal context surrounding the profession and the professionals in it as they carry out their work. However, actually envisioning and describing the extent of that larger social context is approached very differently by many different people with different implications for the professional thought and the actions of the professionals. So one approach to defining the extent of the social context is working outward from yourself. So this approach says that at some point you draw a boundary line, and that says that this is the limit of my team and the limit of my leadership within the full larger breadth and depth of the larger societal context that we operate in and professionals operate in as they carry out their work. And this approach can be somewhat isolating and fragmenting both in its vision and in its result. Another approach to defining the extent of the social context works inward from your intended result. So that intended result being a successful project. This approach says that all things that I'm not doing myself and that are done by other people around me, those other people being clients, consultants, the community, the contractor and subcontractors, etc., like it or not, they're effectively part of the team. This larger societal team approach goes further to assert that it is a team that will derive benefit from any and all members of it who choose to step up and contribute good ethical leadership and professional judgment in some capacity. So regardless of whether you envision narrow boundaries or wide boundaries, your understanding of ethical action within the larger social context and your ability to articulate that will have an impact on your ability to effectively advance your portion of the project with good ethical leadership and professional judgment. So the case study for this module illustrates a situation where, given the strength and quality of the leadership exerted, the typical boundaries of both the professional action and surrounding larger social context were widened dramatically and a professional's good ethical leadership and professional judgment help to elevate the contributions of many other members of the larger societal team. So let's move on to communication within the dynamic of leadership in teams and how it impacts shifting from one perspective to the other. So the comments I've made so far outline important thoughts regarding the definition of teams and leadership and how we understand our own ability to lead within the profession. So the material on teams, leadership, and communication is put first in this module in order to focus on the larger, bigger picture. Before we consider the specific implications of the professional code of ethics, so the larger picture makes it clear that while the goal of governing yourself under ethical principles and professional judgment may not always be easy, it's the larger goal of providing leadership for others in this area and helping the rest of the team see the value of particular actions and undertaking them is just that much more demanding. So an important aspect to handling the difficulties of leadership, in this case relating to communications, is made evident in the case study for this module. How we describe to others an ethical situation, along with our proposed professional judgment reasoning and recommendations, has a lot to do with how others respond to it or don't respond, and to our hoped for leadership in the situation. So as seen in the 59-story crisis, which is the case study, and the re-examination, which is the counterpoint to it, Le Mesurier is identified as enjoying rhetorical flourishes in his manner of speaking. So to some listeners, this manner of speaking dramatizes an obscure technical situation and serves to motivate them. And yet to other listeners, the same manner of speaking over-dramatizes an already clear technical and ethical situation and possibly diminishes Le Mesurier's ability to motivate and to lead them. So for the second type of listener, he then falls prey to criticisms of his demeanor, which distracts others from paying attention to the actual larger issues at hand. So finally, let's talk about ethics and conduct and the varying perspectives within the context of the profession and within the industry. So for several modules now, we have been deferring consideration of the details of the AIA Code of Ethics. Similarly, the NCARB rules of conduct have been mentioned before now, but they're presented fully in this module. The reason for this has been the need to understand both of these documents as not about the architect acting in isolation, but rather as acting well embedded in various different but simultaneously operating teams and relationships. The same understanding will be employed in the next module when we consider contracts and the owner's architect agreement. So an open question for both of these documents, the Code of Ethics and the Owner-Architect Agreement, which are both authored by the AIA, is this. If they're both about defining relationships and also about a fair balancing of latitude and responsibility within those relationships, in what ways do their closely related siblings, the NCARB Rule of Conduct and the AGC consensus documents, for instance, possibly provide different, maybe worse, maybe better, understandings of those same relationships, and perhaps a different, again, worse or better, balance of latitude and responsibility. So this is a question that you can keep in mind while reading these documents for the module, and it's something that we'll explore together further, both in our discussion of this module and in your discussion board postings.